There's a speech here on the podium, but I don't think it's for me. Ladies and gentlemen, this Business Summit has attracted a wide range of leaders, a wide range of business figures from Australia and around the region. But none, of course, more significant than the leader of the most powerful economy in the world and the leader of the largest economy in APEC. And it's with great pleasure, both as the host of APEC and also on a personal basis, for me to welcome the 43rd President of the United States of America to address you, George Bush.
Good morning, or should I say, good day. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you for your introduction. Thank you for being such a fine host for the OPEC Summit. I appreciate APEC Summit. You know. He invited me to the OPEC Summit next year. The APEC Summit. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your leadership. They refer to the Prime Minister around here as a battler. I know why. He's courageous, he's wise, he's determined. America could ask for no better friend and more steadfast ally than Prime Minister John Howard. I appreciate being back here in Australia, and I thank the people of Sydney for their gracious hospitality. The Prime Minister kept bragging about how beautiful Sydney is, and he's right. It's really a beautiful city, Mr. Prime Minister. Yesterday I had the privilege of visiting the Australian National Maritime Museum, which houses the bell from a great American naval vessel called the USS Canberra. This is the only American ship ever commissioned in tribute to an Allies warship lost in battle. It was named by President Franklin Roosevelt to honor the men who gave their lives aboard the Australian ship Canberra, which was lost during the Second World War. The bell is a powerful symbol of the enduring ties that bind our two nations. And I was proud to present it to Prime Minister John Howard when he came to Washington to mark the 50th anniversary of the ANZUS Treaty. The ceremony took place on September the 10th, 2001. And as we stood together that morning, I know that I could never have imagined, I suspect the Prime Minister never could have imagined, that in less than 24 hours, the United States of America would come under attack, and that the ANZUS Treaty would be invoked for the first time. And in a matter of weeks, Australian and American troops would once again be fighting side by side in a global war to defend our freedom and our way of life. Australia's response after 9/11 was swift and resolute. And this comes as no surprise to the American people. Our two nations have fought together in every major conflict of the past century. Australian diggers have served alongside American GIs throughout the world. American troops are honored to fight beside such dedicated and courageous allies, and the American people are proud to call Australia a partner in the cause of peace and freedom. You know, it says something that one of my nation's closest allies in the world is also the farthest from our shores. The United States and Australia are separated by geography, and a lot of it. But we're united by common values. We share a firm belief in democracy and free enterprise and the universal appeal of liberty. Our two nations are united by common interests. We seek an Asia-Pacific region that is growing in freedom and prosperity and peace. And we're determined to help this region become a place of hope, where every man, woman, and child has a chance to achieve their God-given potential and to build a better life. America's commitment to the Asia-Pacific region was forged in war and sealed in peace. You know, I recently went to the VFW. That's one of our finest veterans organizations, veterans of foreign wars, and I spoke to the folks there. In that audience today, there were citizens who had been called out of their normal lives to serve their country in a time of war, and they came to fight for freedom in the Pacific. Their courage spared millions from tyranny and laid the foundation for America's enduring presence in this region. Today, our alliances with Australia, Japan, South Korea, Thailand, and the Philippines, and our defense relationships with Singapore, Taiwan, Indonesia, and others in the region form the bedrock of America's engagement in the Asia-Pacific. These security relationships have helped keep the peace in this vital part of the world. They've created conditions that have allowed freedom to expand and markets to grow and commerce to flow and young democracies to gain in confidence. America is committed to the security of the Asian Pacific region, and that commitment is unshakable. The expansion of freedom and democracy in the Asian Pacific region is one of the great stories of our time. At the end of World War II, Australia and New Zealand were the only democracies on this side of the Pacific. Now, some nearly 60 years later, we've witnessed Japan's transformation into a thriving free society. We've seen the triumph of democracy in the Philippines. We've seen democratic transitions in Taiwan and South Korea and Indonesia. We've seen the birth of a new democratic nation in East Timor. The growth of these free societies in this part of the world has unleashed the talent and creativity of millions, and they're using that freedom to build a dynamic and hopeful Asia-Pacific region. Our challenge is to strengthen the forces of freedom and prosperity in this region, and one of the best ways to do so is through the expansion of trade and investment. Today, APEC economies account for nearly half of all international trade. It's going to be amazing, John. We have that meeting tomorrow, and when you look around the table, 1/2 of all international trade will be represented by the leaders at the table. The total trade in goods by APEC countries has grown a lot. It's grown by 300% since 1990. Investment in the region has grown by nearly 400%. The expansion of trade creates jobs. The expansion of investment creates opportunities for people on this side of the Pacific. And it opens up new markets for American workers and farmers and entrepreneurs. It is in the interest of the United States to liberalize trade and investment at every level, globally, regionally, and with individual nations. I believe that the best way to open up markets is through the Doha round of trade negotiations. Doha represents a once-in-a-generation chance to open up markets and to help millions rise out of poverty. The United States is committed to seizing this opportunity, and we need partners in this region to help lead the effort. No single country can make Doha a success, but it is possible for a handful of countries that are unwilling to make the necessary contributions to bring Doha to a halt. As negotiations resume in Geneva, leaders in every country have to make tough decisions to reduce barriers to trade. We must focus on what we have to gain, not what we could lose. The United States has both the will and the flexibility to help conclude a successful Doha round, and we urge our APEC partners to join us in this vital effort. As we work to liberalize trade and investment through Doha, the United States also supports the vision of a free trade area of the Asia Pacific. This would be a free trade area that incorporates all APEC economies.